Okay, in this video, we're going to take a look at how we use our survey data and make specifically a histogram based on our data. So one of the questions I asked for us to make sure we do is to have a question that asks someone to, or respondents to state how much they're willing to contribute to the party, and they have to type in a specific answer. And what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to go ahead and, if we look at the responses, we're going to look and we're going to see, okay, well, this graph that they give us doesn't really help us too much. Now, from what I'm seeing, it looks like a histogram might really be able to tell us a better story or more complete story rather than the graph that they have right here. So to go ahead and do that, rather than using this bar graph, we're going to go ahead and we're going to click on this icon right here. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to notice that we have all the data listed here. Now, this is going to cause a lot of problems. So I'm noticing that I'm going to have to take out some of this data. I don't like having to do this, but this really is going to simplify things for us. These huge outliers, like $1,000, $1,000, million, even more, these really large outliers, I'm going to go ahead and take out. And I would like you to do the same thing. Again, I feel guilty changing the data. I know some of us are just being silly, but in this case, it really is going to make our lives a lot easier. Okay, and I'm specifically looking at this column, how much are you willing to contribute to my party? So I'm going to make a histogram just based on this data. And to do that, I'm going to click on this E up here. If you notice, it's going to highlight or select the whole column. I'm going to click right here, Insert Chart. And it makes a histogram for us. So Google Sheets is really smart about predicting what we're trying to do. In this case, we do want to make a histogram, but if we wanted something else, if they made a mistake, we could certainly choose from different types of graphs. Today we're going to focus on the histogram. And what we're going to do is, if we take a look at this, they actually did a pretty good job setting it up for us. But let's take a look at what we can do. So again, we clicked Insert Chart, and we have this chart editor here now. For our purposes today, everything is perfect here. I'm going to click on Customize, and it's going to start with the chart title up here. Let's go ahead and just start customizing things. I'll say, we can change the background if we want. Let's make it like a golden tannish color. Chart border color, maybe black. We can change the fonts if we want. We could change kind of the style it is. I'm going to leave it as it wasn't by default. We could change the title by clicking up here. So instead of saying histogram of, I'm just going to say how much are you willing to contribute to my party. From there, the next option, and this is going to be probably where you guys are going to spend a little bit of time, and you have to recall some of your math you learned in 6th grade. They call it bucket size. You might have considered or called it the bin size or the interval size of the bins, right, or the intervals. So it's automatically set on auto. So they decided to make intervals of 21. I would like us to use a bin size of 10. So just go ahead and click on the 10 here, and you're going to notice that now the bin is going by tens. Okay, so now we have this histogram, and it tells us a pretty complete story of the students' willingness to contribute. We could continue modifying things, the chart and axis titles. So again, I kind of changed the title, but we could change it here too. We could go and change the fonts that we want to use. We could change the font size, format how we want it to. This is going to be up to you guys. The series, legend, and there are other things that we could go ahead and spend some time talking about. Here's an interesting one. If we go to the horizontal axis or the x-axis, we could change the range of values. Okay, so maybe I just want to cut everything out. So instead of doing what we did before, now I could just kind of focus on 0 to 50. Okay, instead of cutting out the outliers before, we could have also done the same thing. But to simplify things for today's matter, this is why I wanted to work with this approach. I'm going to leave it as, instead of saying 100, because that's going to take our 100 data, I'm going to make the maximum 110. Okay, so that still has this last bin. Again, vertical axis, we have some options there. We cut things off if we would like, changing the different colors and stuff. We could even add some grid lines if we want to, put kind of change the different things. We can certainly do that as well. Okay, but this is going to be the chart I want us to have, or the graph I want us to have. We could copy the chart, do a few different things, but we are going to go ahead and copy this and paste this onto our Google Docs.